So we are live. That's always amazing. I'm always so surprised when I go live and I'm like, oh, look, I'm live again. That's amazing.
Yay!
So hopefully we have some people joining us. If you're joining us, please tell me where you're coming from. If you have any questions about positivity and how to stay positive, and tell us where you are. So I have Kendra with me. Kendra, who I think of as sunshine personified, is joining me to cover this topic because she's just a ball of sunshine. And so if you don't know Kendra, you should know Kendra. But if you don't know Kendra, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in Pennsylvania, lived in Missouri for a number of years, and recently moved to Pittsburgh. I work for the wonderful company Gravy, and we help business owners recoup failed payments, and we do this with a wonderful human-to-human connection. So shout out to my Gravy fam and all the people that are coming in here. Happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we've got Julie over in Orlando. You know Julie, she's part of our morning crew. We've got New York City. We've got people from, is that Atlanta? ETX.
I think, yeah.
Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas. Cleveland. More people from St. Pete. We've got some people from my team here. That's always amazing. Michigan. Yeah. So, the topic of positivity, I think, is so important right now, with 2020, 2021, in a remote environment. How do you keep positive and the sunshine coming? So, Kendra, tell us how you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, positivity is a serious topic, right? Like, we enjoy being bubbly and having fun, but being able to maintain your optimism and your positivity involves keeping good energy for yourself and understanding what brings you energy and what takes it away from you. So some of the things that I have really leaned into is understanding that my positivity comes from interacting with people and new people. And so I go out of my way to seek that out as best as I can, being remote. And one of those things that I recently posted about was the opportunity to come into a co-working space where I can bump into other people and get to know them. So that has helped me tremendously. And if you don't have the opportunity to go to a co-working space, lunch Zooms and morning coffees just with friends are really, really helpful to break up the day. I think another piece of the positivity puzzle is remembering to take breaks during the day and actually like shutting off your technology, getting up, walking around, and just moving without a screen in front of your face.
Yeah. I think it's important that you take time away from the screen. I know that if it's not a customer facing type thing, that at times I will lean towards the phone, just to have a phone conversation so that I can walk around the neighborhood, right? Yep. And have the conversation and get some fresh air. Now, I'm in Florida and maybe it's a little cold for me today, so I'm not taking any walks outside at 50 degrees. I have no idea why that's cold for me because we got people joining us from Chicago covered with snow and Boulder, Colorado, But it's important for me to be able to move around while I am working and engaging. So I got a standing desk. And I think you made a really excellent point at the beginning there where you said that it's really about being kind to yourself and your self-talk, right? Yeah. So what are some of the things you do to sort of encourage that for yourself? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, so it's not a mantra that I wake up and say in the morning. For me, it's practicing kind self-talk. I am my own worst critic, as many of us are out there. And it is changing the way that you interact with yourself first, right? Like, you can't maintain positivity and optimism throughout the day if you don't spend time with yourself first and understand that you have to give grace to yourself. You have to be kind to yourself. And when you learn how to do that, and it's a practice, right? When I screw up, it is not pleasant what happens in the other as I'm telling myself, negative things and throwing myself across the room in my head. But it's garnering the ability to catch yourself and stop it in the moment and reframe how you're talking to yourself. And if you learn to do that, pretty soon it's how you speak to others changes, and how you interpret a situation changes. And that's the bottom up, right? Like, you start with your foundation, and then it goes up to the top of the pyramid, which is how you give grace to others and how you can allow others to make mistakes or screw up or have a bad day, and it doesn't come back and reflect on you and you're not criticizing them. And so for me, a huge part is the constant practice of speaking kindly to myself in my own noggin.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with that. One of my mantras for this year is, progress over perfection, right? I have a tendency to want to make everything perfect. The thing is, if I spend too much time trying to make things perfect, I won't get enough done, right? And I've come to realize over time that my good is really, really pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, by being receptive to what other people tell me, I understand, my good ain't half bad. I can evolve and I can just focus on progress and eventually add to whatever it is I'm doing. I don't necessarily need to get it all done like right away. And I think that really helps me, right? To focus on what I can control as opposed to what I can't control, and to focus on progress over perfection.
Yeah, absolutely, Jen. I think that is a spectacular point that, when folks start to understand that if you're giving it your best shot and that's all that you can do, then that is in fact good enough, right? If it is the best that you can do, there is no point berating yourself up and down and saying that you could have done it better or you could have whatever. Like, it doesn't matter at that point. You did your best and that is good enough. And if it is not good enough for your employer or whoever is telling you that it's not good enough, like, sit down and have that conversation. And I think through having dialogue about the moment where you were like, man, I gave that my all. I didn't think that wasn't enough, or you shipping something out and thinking like, now that was garbage. I can't believe I just did that. All these things. Have dialogue with the people around you to illuminate whatever just happened. And discuss if it was good enough or if it could have been different. But I think a lot of people get stuck in perfection over progress, just like what you're working on, when in reality, like, you're waking up every day, you're giving it your all, and whatever you get done that day and you ship out, it is good enough. It really is, if you gave it your honest effort. And now look, only you know that, right? Internally. And but again, and then it loops back around to like, are you speaking kindly to yourself if you had an exhausting day and did all the stuff that you said you were going to, or you fell short of it? Like, all of those things also allow for moments of acceptance, of personal acceptance, and realizing that, like, you worked to the capacity that you could today, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and whether that work is your actual paying job or work as a spouse or work as a parent or work as a friend or a sibling, you can only do as much and go as far as you are capable of giving for yourself. And if that energy, kind of what we said at the beginning, right? If you're not filling up your energy, then these things are going to become like slugging through molasses, like trying to just get everything. Okay, I'll try, maybe, perhaps. And that's when the negativity sets in.
Yeah, no, and I 100% agree with that. So, in the face of rejection,
Yep.
Rejection, regular sales rejection, what do you do? So and anyone who's joining us live, if you've got any comments or whether this resonates with you at all, please go ahead and share. We've got Amber Boone joining us.
Hi, Amber.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon.
But let us know if that resonates with us. And of course, Oliver Cat is over there networking in the live feed, which I totally love.
I love the cats. They're so great.
They're amazing. So appreciate you joining us. But tell us, in the face of rejection.
It is, yeah, absolutely. Right. So you make a million cold calls or you get nasty emails, right? I think the hardest is on the phone, right? When somebody is not nice to you, like actually in person. And it's stepping back and remembering like they're the ones having a shit day, not you. Oh, I don't know if I can swear here, but they're the ones having a crap day, right? And it's not you, and it doesn't have to reflect on you, and it doesn't have to be a burden on you either, right? We have this awful tendency of sucking in other people's negativity or emotions and getting lost in them, and understanding like you're the one capable of controlling how you feel at all times, right? You have an emotional reaction and you have your adult response. So in the face of rejection, you're going to feel the emotional reaction of like, what a butt face. Like, who would do that? Why? Why are they so mean? Like, oh, I hope you go kick rocks. Like, get a flat tire. Nobody likes it anyway, right? But instead, right, that's the emotional reaction to someone else's bad day, and how your adult self can handle that is wildly different, right? So you can feel that, and then you can be like, click, and you're going to go pick up the phone and you're going to make the next dial. And your ability to separate that to like, oh, at least I'm not having that kind of day. We'll put that over here. Or even like the most emotive people amongst us might even feel bad for that person. But being able to separate how you feel in that instant and then how you're going to choose to move forward, right? And sometimes that happens even in a conversation or, not even a cold call. If we talk about having these conversations with coworkers or superiors, or, if you're getting a review and you feel yourself getting defensive, right? It's okay. Sit in how you're feeling, sit in this emotional reaction that you're having, whatever it is, and then take the moment, take the space and the time to process how your adult self wants to handle this and how you're going to step in and change the narrative, right? Instead of reacting with your emotions. And so in the face of rejection, right, it's about just separating it and just kind of teasing it apart and being like, well, not that. We'll stick with it.
I totally do that too. I said it over here. Like, they're not really talking to me at all.
Yeah.
And just lead with like positive energy. I'm a firm believer in energy, right? The energy you bring to something, right? That at the end of the day, so it doesn't really matter what you say. If you bring really good energy, you can really get past a whole lot. And so by not taking in the negative energy and just saying, well, that's them, this is me, and I'm going to focus on what I learned from this phone call, right? Yeah. That's a good way to sort of move on, right? So Christine said, oh, go on.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna add to that and say too, right? It's really important for the mindset of positivity and optimism, in my humble, always learning opinion, comes from a deep belief or faith in the fact that the universe is constantly working towards the good of all things at all times. And if you believe in that, or whatever your faith is, or your belief that good things, the universe is working for the benefit of good things at all times. And that has really enabled me to be this positive and optimistic self, is learning to lean into that, so that the little things throughout the day that previously would have just built up and added on all this weight. And then you get to the end of the day and you're like, well, that was a crap day. Like, that was just miserable. And for me, it used to start with simple little things, right? Like, I would lock myself out of the house or forget something or screw up or an email or forget. And like that little thing would hit me off and I'd be like, well, the rest of the day is shot. So like I haven't always been like this. It's taken a lot to cultivate this and not have one bad thing ruin the whole day. And so for me, that comes from the idea that I genuinely believe that the good energy that everybody puts out, right, is for the betterment of all things. And that has helped tremendously.
Yeah, and I 100% agree that, like, I love those strategies. So thank you for sharing that. We've got a lot of amazing comments here. Allowing yourself to be okay with screwing up and learning from it. Amber, can't wait for you guys to catch up. Michelle, rejection. Like that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
We have to accept rejection sometimes, not reject rejection. That's a very true statement. Thank you, Julie, for sharing that.
Absolutely, right? Like you have to love you, fam. You have to sit in it sometimes, right? Because sometimes what the other person is saying could have a really good piece to self-reflect on. And so you have to be good at being uncomfortable. I've said this a couple different times in different places, but failure was celebrated at my house a lot more than success was. Getting an A, nailing a project was like a pat on the back, like, great, good job, kid. When you failed at something and you royally screwed it up, that meant getting to sit down at the dinner table, replan it, rehash it out, try it again, think about it. And so failure and rejection in that is being able to sit in it, learn from it, and understand, like, when you nail it, that's great, but you just nailed it. When you fail it, you can learn from all of that. And it's such a better opportunity to grow, right? I really believe that the opportunity to change your thought patterns and build your personal foundation of values and morals and ethics, right, is developed through really, really hard times and is developed through tragedy, where you have the opportunity to break down old building blocks of yourself as they crack in this awful time and decide for yourself how you're going to move forward from this. And those moments in life are very poignant for a lot of people. But if we look back across them, those are the instances that have provided people the opportunity to change. And to sit in the failure and sit in the rejection you get, right? Sometimes it'll be useless. Sometimes it is because they're having a bad day and you're like, all right, honey, take care.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's so much to unpack there. But I 100% agree. Like, it's the tragedies, it's the failures, it's failing fast. It's all those growth learning opportunities that, I wasn't like this, a couple of decades ago. I've learned over time. So we've got some great comments, and we also have a surprise guest. So Kevin shared with us, all you can control is how you act, 100%. And I got to commend Kevin because he spent most of the morning with me. Now he dropped in. So really appreciate that. Being adult enough to remove yourself from a situation or place that is not bringing you joy. That is, react, responds.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
Anthony, come on, coffee fam.
Hi, Anthony. Yeah, these are all, if anybody has read or has not yet read Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, that book has tremendously changed also how I think about things. And it's a lot of what everybody is sharing, right? How you react and how you respond and the pause that comes in the middle. And when you can learn to control the pause and own the pause in between, is a really spectacular place to be.
Yeah, no, I agree. Sit in the emotion and process.
Yeah. You can sit in the emotion. I like that a lot, right? So you can sit in the emotion. Shout out to my sweet husband who has taught me a lot of this with his meditation and spiritual practice. Yay, Zach Warlow. Love you, schmoops. he has taught me how to do this, right? Where you can sit in the emotion and let it go at the same time. You're not holding on to the emotion. You are feeling it, letting it go, and then processing why perhaps you felt that way instead of being in it and trying to process at the same time, why are you feeling like this? Because that goes back to the negative self-talk. That's you berating yourself that, oh, why am I feeling this? Why am I feeling depressed? Why am I angry? Why am I sad? That just ropes into you berating yourself instead of saying, man, I'm feeling kind of blue right now, or I'm feeling rejected, or whatever you may be feeling, taking your deep breaths, allowing it to pass, and then sitting with yourself and going back through why you might have been feeling like that.
Yeah, that really, really great thoughts there. One more comment. Someone who falls in grace is more admirable than someone winning all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I agree. You know, that's why, I mean, I'm a big fan of like just being vulnerable, right? Nobody's successful all the time. I screw up. Everyone does.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But it's in those moments of owning it and saying, look, accepting responsibility, I screwed up. This is what happened. And like moving on.
Yeah.
Apologize if you have to. Say why you screwed up, but just move on.
Yep. Yeah, but that ability to just move on and to own it comes with practice, right? Because it's very, very uncomfortable for a lot of people to own their mistakes because it wasn't something, I mean, it's not inherent, right? It's not inherent for us to say it was me. It was me. Because as a kid, it was me, you got in trouble, right?
Yeah.
For stepping up. And but as an adult, learning how to be uncomfortable and saying, I screwed up. It was me. Then you can move on. I wanted to touch back on something that Tom said a minute ago, which is rejection is feedback. And I think we have to be really clear about the different kinds of rejection that there are, right? If you are rejected from a job interview, you can ask for feedback about why you were rejected. When you're rejected on a cold call or you have somebody send you a nasty email, like that's a different kind of rejection that isn't worth anybody's time, isn't worth a second, unless you reach back out and ask. And I had a great opportunity to do this with a CEO that I did cold outreach for. And he called me out and said, Kendra, this was a crap email. And I said, yep, yes, it was. I was just trying to get the emails out. I'm so sorry. Could you give me some feedback? And this amazing CEO took time out of his day to write me and share how I could have done this better. So that kind of rejection is where the feedback comes in, and it's a learning opportunity. But rejection in terms of like you're making 100 dials today and you've had 3 people tell you to F off, like that's where it builds, and you have to stop and separate yourself and not allow that to be like the little blocks on your shoulder that you get done and you're like, why is it so heavy today?
Yeah.
And you held on to everyone else's crappy day that they were having.
Well, I've got someone to join our conversation who's been in the waiting room, very patient.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It's someone you know.
Okay.
From our coffee crew.
Okay. Hi, Courtland.
Hey. Hey, ladies.
Hey. Thank you so much for joining us, Courtland. Yes. I appreciate it.
I'm so excited to be here. I feel very honored to be in the presence of 2 wonderful ladies and speaking about something that I care very deeply about too. And I feel like Kendra and Jen, both of you are so great at this and staying positive. But it's so exciting to be here.
Shout out to you for getting your Peloton little fancy crystal.
Thank you. I was so excited. So much learned this year. It's been really helpful for me with growing, definitely helping with my positivity, because when I started in sales, it was so hard. So Peloton was a huge help in that too, but thank you for that.
Courtland, what are some of the things that since starting in sales, you said that it was so hard. What are some of the things that you have latched onto that's made it easier?
Well, I think accepting that there's so much for me to learn and not trying to learn it all at once and knowing that I'm going to fail a lot. And I think one thing that has really helped me with that is I played golf, and mental game is such a huge thing when it comes to golf, and being able to move past the upsets and being able to even move past your super excited moments and staying positive, but not letting you stay at that super high for too long, because if you stay there, it's going to make you crash even harder if something bad comes up, but also not letting that bad moment hang around for more than like 10 seconds, fully feel that for 10 seconds and move past it and just go back to your midline. That's been a huge thing for me in golf and the rest of my life as well.
That is spitting some truth and fire, because if any of you guys know me, it is to get very excited about things really quickly. And sometimes it is, it's too excited. Shout out to Colin James, my manager at Gravy has roped me in a couple times where I get one good phone call and I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that was amazing. It's gonna be great. And then it does, then it's not.
Yeah. You gotta measure.
That midline is something that I work on all the time, coming back to that to that neutral position, and understanding that, like, to temper my high highs, right? And low lows, and I'm actively working on that. Amanda has a question. Mm-hmm. Would you say venting or conversating with someone else about how you're feeling in a particular situation is helpful? This is a really, really good question, because I'm a talker-outer. I am a conversator, but I have also learned to be mindful about who I'm about to have an emotional conversation with, to the extent that sometimes I'll ask people, are you okay if I share with you how I'm feeling, because it's going to be emotional? Do you have the emotional capacity today to listen to me vent? And calling it out openly and saying, I'm about to drop stuff on you. Is that okay? And if it's not, find somebody else, but also understand, pause and recognize, like, are you doing this just to hear yourself? Are you doing this for your own validation? Or are you doing this because you genuinely need to process and say it a couple times and listen?
Yeah, I definitely am someone that likes to discuss. My husband doesn't always like to be that person for me. But fortunately, he's upstairs in the other office, so sometimes I'll just yell out to him and vent for a moment. But I think definitely conversing, like when I fail, when I succeed, like maybe discussing that with other people, which I definitely do in my coffee crew, with my boss, with my coworkers. Like, I work in a pretty awesome startup that I'm best friends with the people that work there with me. So I'm in a pretty unique situation where I have a lot of support group there, and they know I'm still learning, and they're helping me when I'm discussing with them, okay, this is what happened. How can I continue doing this? Or how can I be better at this? Or maybe my emails that I'm sending out right now aren't the greatest, or the personalization just isn't there and I can't figure it out, or whatever the case is at that point. But for me, discussing and maybe just bouncing thoughts off of other people and brainstorming are really, really helpful for me, because my brain is just going. So sometimes I need someone to help me to hone that in a little bit.
Shout out to my ADD, ADHD sales fam out there.
Yes.
It's real.
Yes,
well,
absolutely.
yeah. And I mean, we know each other through a community from, a little coffee group where, we vent a little, right? But we don't have to necessarily worry, because it's not our coworkers, right? Mm-hmm. It's sort of a separate group. So it's someplace you can bring stuff that it's a little okay to vent a little, right? And you're not necessarily bringing that energy to your coworkers. And I find that to be super helpful. I've got a couple of different groups like that I really appreciate and grateful for, because I have places I can go and vent besides my husband and my coworkers. And that's very, very valuable to me. I have a whole tribe of ladies too. So
it's really important, because sometimes you have to understand that what you're getting ready to say and your thoughts on something and your feelings on something might not be anybody else's. And so if you're taking it to somebody internally who might not see it the way you see it, you have just opened them up to now thinking about or doubting something that you were. And I mean, frankly can be poisoning the well. And so you have
Yeah.
to be really careful about what you're taking to coworkers and what you're venting to them. And look, those, like, we could have a whole other conversation about trying to navigate the waters about, well, when do you bring something up? How do you know? Is it okay? Like, that's a whole other conversation.
It's actually next week. We have EQ to manage up next week. Marissa, who is an expert on this area of EQ, but specifically EQ to bring to your leaders, right? And believe it or not, we are out of time, and we have not gotten to all of the questions. So, ladies, you're going to have to go into the comments and answer some of these questions for these folks, because
Deal.
we still don't know if anyone's tried Insight Timer and some of these other questions that are in here. So please take the time to do so. But everyone, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, Kendra. Portland, I so appreciate it when we have a group sort of collaborating together and how we can all be better and level up.
So much fun. This has been awesome, Jen. Thank you.
Thank you. So next week, again, EQ to manage up. The EQ you need to bring for your leader. This is a very good topic, I think. And then February 24th, I've got Ladies Happy Hour with Mom Life. So we've got a whole new collection of moms to bring their insights. A lot of them from the Tampa Bay area, sales leaders from the Tampa Bay area, which I think is pretty exciting because I haven't had a chance to meet some of these people in person, and I have finally get an opportunity to do so. So thank you all, and have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
See ya.